My name is Esperanza Soriano-McCrary. I'm the Parent Engagement Specialist for the Clarksville-Montgomery County School System. And on this episode of Engage TV, I'm joined by Heather Guest, CMCSS Homeless Liaison. Hi Heather, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So let's begin with just defining what homelessness is for students.
For students, homelessness can mean that they lack a fixed, adequate, and regular nighttime residence.
So if they're staying, for example, with a family member or maybe sleeping on the couch, or does that mean that they're homeless because they're obviously under shelter?
It does. The McKinney-Vento Act defines homelessness different than HUD. When the McKinney-Vento Act, even if they have a roof over their head, if it's not their roof and they can be asked to leave at any moment, that is homelessness.
Does a student necessarily have to live at home with their parents to not be labeled as homeless?
There are situations where if the house that they reside in is not up to codes, or it's an abandoned house, there's no electricity, that could also be deemed as homeless based on the McKinney-Vento Act. A lot of times, especially in high school, their peers are the ones that notice, because they're not just going to come out and tell the counselor, hey, I don't have a place to live. A lot of times the peers will bring it up to the counselor, hey, there's something going on with my friend, can you just talk to him? Also, slipping grades, changing attitude and moods, all of those. That happens a lot when they're homeless because they don't have a place to do homework at night. They don't know where they're going to be the next night, or where their next meal is going to come from.
So you said that students tend to notice their behavior. What are some of those signs that other students notice in the homeless child?
This last year we had a student who, it was a very gradual progression, but they started noticing that he didn't eat as much at lunch. He didn't go do things that he used to do all the time. Just little gradual changes that started to happen. I mean, it can vary from child to child also.
Yeah, and I would imagine that it affects learning. Have you seen situations?
Grades tend to drop considerably. But then in the same aspect, when they get a more stable environment, they also tend to go up.
So let's say, for example, a student maybe goes to a guidance counselor and says, hey, I have a friend who I think is in some sort of situation and is deemed that they are indeed homeless. What services can make that student's situation better?
Well, we can definitely get them set up with the Salvation Army. Depending on their military background, Operation Stand Down has helped at least put them up in a hotel, somewhere where they can have some sort of place to go every night until they get an actual residence. We just refer them out to different agencies who have made arrangements to get substantial housing for these families. If they are under 18, we can still assist them. There are agencies out there that can help these students get back on their feet, depending on what the current situation that the student is in. We will definitely work with them, but that's not going to keep them from being enrolled in school and continuing their education. We would classify them as an unaccompanied youth. That's anyone who is not in the physical custody of their parents.
So what are 3 things that we should keep in mind about a homeless child, or if we believe that we're noticing some certain behaviors and we believe that there may be a housing situation with a student?
Well, I would always keep in mind that they're no different than anyone else. Their situation doesn't define them. Just remember to reach out to either the guidance counselors or myself, and just because a lot of times we can, if you bring it up to them, they'll be more open if they know someone really cares. But they're just not going to come out and tell you the situation a lot of times.
They're still kids and they're probably hurting.
Yes, right? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely they are.
So it sounds like there's a really large network of organizations that are sort of working whatever resources that they have available to them to make sure that whatever student has been identified as homeless, that they can still be a successful student and just, rectify their situation as best as these organizations can
Absolutely.
Help. Okay.
That is correct, yeah.
That's good to know.
There's help out there. We have a good support system in our community with different agencies that work with the homeless. Supplies that we can give those families, clothing vouchers so that they can go get clothes, so that they can feel some sort of normalcy.
Some sort of normalcy, yeah. Because, we want all of our students, regardless of what their situation is. And like you said, they're just kids. We don't want them to feel any different, and we want all of our children, our students, to be successful.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We do want them to succeed.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time and all of the information that you shared on this topic.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining me on this episode of Engage TV.